Do you ever feel like you never get enough time to read? If you're exercising, driving, or doing various tasks, I recommend listening to audiobooks. So today I'm going to go ahead and introduce you my top 5 favorite audiobooks. Hello everyone, so before we get started, I want to make sure you receive notifications of when I post new videos. Go ahead and click that subscribe and ring that notification bell. I want to go ahead and talk to you guys about what inspired me to do this video. I recently listened to an audiobook called The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee and narrated by Christian Colson. So this book is basically about Monty, who goes on this tour across different continents with his friend Percy and his younger sister Felicity, and they kind of introduce themselves to society. The main character, Monty, he actually experiences heartbreak for the first time when his friend Percy does not return his affections. So his life starts to spiral out of control. He starts to gamble, he starts to drink. Basically, there's a moment in the book where he encounters this courtesan, and he steals this box. Now they don't know for sure what is inside the box yet, and so they go on this adventure trying to discover what's inside it, this mystery. They are captured by pirates, and a lot of romance too as well. His relationship with Percy, it's still trying to be mended. He wants to keep that friendship, but he also wants to have more than that. And so it is actually a really good story. I just finished the audiobook, and which I really enjoyed, by Christian Colson. He does an amazing job. Now, if you don't know who Christian Colson is, he was actually Tom Riddle in the Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And so this is what really inspired me in talking about my other favorite audiobooks to listen to after listening to this one. And it's just amazing. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started in talking about my favorite audiobooks. So the first audiobook I'm going to go ahead and talk about is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, and it's narrated by Jim Dale. If you are not familiar with The Night Circus, this is basically about these two magicians who are traveling in the circus, and of course it only appears at night. And so they are preparing to do this competition against each other. They don't know that they're each other's competitors until halfway through the book, and forbidden romance between the two. They start to fall in love, and so that kind of creates obstacles for them. And so I just really love the story. I could read the printed book, I could listen to the audio over and over again. Jim Dale does an amazing job. He did the narration for Harry Potter. You're just immersed with this story. So I definitely recommend, if you are into that fantasy kind of storytelling, definitely listen to the audiobook of The Night Circus. Or if you prefer, you can always just read the printed book. This is a good must read. I always recommend it to everybody to read this book. It is just amazing. So the next audiobook I'm going to go ahead and recommend, I actually do not own the printed version. I have the electronic version, and I've also listened to the audiobook, and that is Landline by Rainbow Rowell and narrated by Rebecca Loman. So Landline is about Georgie McCool, who is a screenwriter, also a mother and wife, and she's given this great opportunity to go ahead and pitch an idea for a new television series with her co-worker Seth. Now Seth and Georgie, they actually have worked together since college, and they've always had this dream of coming up with their own television series. Now the only issue is that they have to pitch it the day before Christmas. And Neil, Georgie's husband, already has plans of the family going to Nebraska. So she's kind of has this dilemma of should she stay or should she go? But she does eventually decide to stay and go ahead and pitch this idea for her television series. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. She's going to take it. Another issue that goes on is that Neil actually resents her for it, for choosing to stay for her career as opposed to spending time with her family during the holidays. And so Georgie starts to feel heartbroken, and so she's all by herself and she doesn't know what to do. One night she decides to call her husband from this landline, which is a rotary phone that she owned since high school. And when she calls him, she actually gets the past Neil. And she doesn't realize this until she starts conversing with him, and she starts to pick up on some things and notices that this is the past Neil. This is not her current Neil, not her husband Neil. This is her Neil that she was dating at the time. And at that time, they actually had another fight that really would alter their relationship. And so she faces another dilemma of having to tell him if this is the future Georgie or should she just play along. And so this is just basically trying to reconnect with her husband. I really do enjoy listening to Landline. I can listen to it over and over again. Rebecca Loman does such an amazing job of the narrations of these characters, and it feels like, again, I am physically reading the book in front of me when they are doing these narrations. So this is a contemporary romance. Rainbow Rowell, I've actually read her other books, Fangirl, Eleanor Park. I love her other books. She does a good job in doing storytelling. Really amazing. It's a quick listen to, and I really enjoyed it. The next audiobook I'm going to go ahead and talk about is I actually read the physical book first, and then I listened to the audio, and I just love the audio version. And that is The Seven Husbands of Elvin Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and it's narrated by Alma Silvero, Julie Weiland, and Robin Miles. So it's done by 3 different narrators in the audiobook. Now, if you're not familiar with The Seven Husbands of Elvin Hugo, this is basically about old Hollywood. This famous actress, Elvin Hugo, decides to go ahead and give an interview to this magazine that is online. And so as she's doing this interview, she decides to have this young writer, to write her biography. She wants to get her story told. Now, as you are listening to the book or reading the book, you find out it's not actually about her 7 husbands, but it's about Elvin Hugo herself. So I just love this book. This book actually turned me on to Taylor Jenkins Reid. If you have not seen my review for Daisy Jones and the Six, I definitely recommend checking that out. I heard that the audiobook for Daisy Jones and the Six is amazing and has different narrators too as well. Just amazing storytelling. I do love the audiobook. I just love to listen to the different narrations of the different characters. It was the first time I've actually listened to an audiobook with different narrators in it. So definitely check it out. Next book I'm going to talk about is another book that I've actually read in an electronic format, and I've also listened to the audiobook, and that is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, and it's narrated by Grace Grant and Declan Lee. Again, it alternates between the narrators. There's 2 different ones in there. If you're not familiar with Ugly Love, it is about this relationship between Tatum and Miles. Now, the relationship is kind of like a friends with benefits relationship, which causes some trouble with them. Tatum, she actually starts to fall in love with Miles, but Miles actually does not fall in love with her. And it's kind of like, again, like the title, Ugly Love. And so as you're going through the story, you start to find out why Miles decides not to fall in love again. And it's a really heartbreaking story. If you're in need of a good cry, this is a book to go to. I read the electronic book version first, and then I listened to the audio, and I love the audio version. Again, the 2 different narrators, it's just amazing. You just start to get really invoked with it, and it's just really, really a good job. Now, if you're not familiar with Colleen Hoover, I've actually read a lot of her books. I got to meet her in person last year. She's pretty cool. I love her storytelling. She tells these romance stories with a dark twist to it. And so I definitely recommend checking out her books. She does a good job. They're quick reads. They're quick listens to. They're very short. I think they're like about less than 300 pages. But they're really, really good. Again, if you're in need for a good cry, definitely check out Ugly Love. Definitely a book to listen to. So the last book I'm going to go ahead and talk about is actually a book that I had mentioned in my favorite authors video, if you want to check it out. And that is Garden Spells by Sarah Addison Allen, and it's narrated by Sarah Erickson. If you're not familiar with this book, this is about these 2 sisters who reconnect after a certain amount of time. And they have these magical, powers. It's kind of similar to The Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman or the movie version Practical Magic. It is almost a similar storytelling. These 2 sisters reconnecting after a certain amount of time. One of them is in trouble. Magical elements. There's romance. There's fantasy. It's just everything combined. So she's my favorite author. I own every book that she has. Definitely check her out if you're into magical realism. She does an amazing storytelling. The narration of this audiobook is so good. I could listen to it over and over. If I'm in a reading slump, I come back to this because I am familiar with it. So it's a very, very good book to listen to and also to read as well. So those are my top 5 favorite audiobooks. I'm going to go ahead and put links down to at the bottom in the description to Audible that these books are available from. I listen to it from there. Now, if you can't afford Audible, you can always go ahead and use one of your library apps, either Overdrive or there's also Libby as well. You can go ahead and use those to go ahead and check out not only audiobooks, but also any ebooks that you want to as well. So what are your favorite audiobooks that you like to listen to? Go ahead and please put those into the comments area. I would love to see your guys' recommendations of your favorite audiobooks. Also, if you like this video, go ahead and please hit that like button and also hit that share button. And don't forget to hit the subscribe and notification bell to get updates on new videos I post on my channel. I want to thank you guys for watching and happy reading!